Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. We have our previews back. We've missed a couple this season, so apologies for that. But we are back. Should be back to normal from now. We actually are going to start with a story that came out last night. That's actually nothing to do with the game. So we'll get to the game in just a second and talk about that. It's going to be slightly shorter because of the game. There we go. We've got obviously the men's channel live at 8 o'clock as well, so we'll try and wrap up before that for you. We're actually going to start with Adriana Leon and the story that came out yesterday. Or last night. It was quite late last night for an article to come out. Usually articles come out kind of mid-afternoon-ish to get the most clicks and all those kinds of things. But no, it came out quite late last night about how close Leon was to potentially leaving us in January. Obviously, we all remember the rumours and the stories at the time that she was potentially off on a loan deal. A couple of WSL clubs are in the mix and all those kinds of things. So I'm trying to get each of you kind of your thoughts on it. I don't know whether you've read the article or seen it at the time. Obviously, it's come from a respected journalist or a respected outlet in Milan talking about the AC Milan link. For people who haven't read it, I'll give you a very brief on what it says. Milan's offer for the player was on loan with an option to buy of 120,000, so a lot of cash. By the time United finally accepted the deal, it was too little too late. The guidelines state that the deal needs to be concluded 48 hours before the transfer window closes in Italy. The deal for Leon was therefore not finished during the time frame because it was too late for Milan to register the player. Barry, start with yourself on that one. Bit of a weird one. United doing the old fax machine thing with similar to the David De Gea saga. But what did you make of that? Because not gonna lie, I read that last night and it's a little bit surprising, especially the fee. 120,000 was the fee that was spoken about after the loan deal potentially.
Well, it's hard again. I am one of those people who always tries to look at waiting until the club said what's going on, basically. So it's all rumour, it's all hearsay. There's no guarantees on it, but it does sound pretty legit. And it would make sense. I'm not entirely sure. I think there was arguments or points being made rather that they didn't accept the offer for Leon because they wanted to find a replacement first, which is fair enough. And if that's the case, so be it. Bit odd to then go and accept it without actually finding a replacement anyway. So that's a little bit tricky. But I'm wondering if this is part of the masterstroke. You know, sometimes when you're playing Football Manager, somebody comes up and says, I want to leave. And you go, yeah. If we get a good offer, we'll get rid of you, not a problem. And then all of a sudden, they get to the point where they accept it and they go, oh, it's too late. Well, we did accept it. It's not like we said no. It's just we didn't realise that after 48 hours. That's not what happens over here. So I wonder, has there been a little bit of trickery been done there just to ensure that we had the cover until the summer? But if I'm brutally honest, I don't feel like it really matters whether it's now or whether it's the summer. This feels a little bit like an Angel Di Maria sort of deal, where it's happened. It came with much hype and sensation, but ultimately it doesn't seem to be a fit for either side at the minute. For whatever reason that might be, I don't know. But she doesn't seem happy and he doesn't seem to be playing her at the moment. So I feel like whichever way we look at it, it's not great and it doesn't bode well for moving into next season. Having said that, we are where we are and in the situation that we're in without her having played too much. So it won't affect the team massively. I think it's just a shame for all parties involved that it doesn't appear to have worked out.
I was going to say, Andrew, that's the thing, isn't it? Because Barry makes the point that, it's not exactly like we're playing bad without playing her. But the fact that an AC Milan side are willing to pay 120,000 for somebody who's played next to no minutes all season, that's a lot of money for somebody who's hardly played this season and hardly been able to show that at United. So clearly they believe there's quality there. Well, we know that she's got that anyway from what we've seen at Canada and brief at West Ham. But, I mean, what's your thoughts on hearing that and obviously reading that story yesterday? Are you surprised that maybe, like I said, because United did see it from this report, did seem like we accepted it, but as we've said, a little bit too late.
Yes, so surprising the deal didn't go through, but obviously just reading that article, it had to be for AC Milan to conclude the deal, it had to be done 48 hours before so they could register her. I mean, Leon's last appearance, I think it was against Liverpool, so when it was at home. So, I mean, she's not played anything since then, so I could see maybe her frustration, she needs those minutes on the pitch as well. She's getting, say, coming off the bench, or I can't remember if she started in the Conti Cup games, but I know with the World Cup this summer, she wants to be in that Canadian national team as well. So, yeah, £120,000. I mean, in terms of the women's game, that is a lot of money. So, I'm just where United were. I don't know whether they wanted to get somebody in just to as a replacement, but look, she's still here for the rest of the season. She could still be using that, rotating the squad when we need to as well. And I mean, from reading on that article, okay, the Milan deal didn't go through, but apparently she was offered to other WSL clubs as well. So I think Tottenham Hotspur were leading the chase as well. But when United said this is what we want, Spurs went, that's far outweighs our budget. We can't afford it. So, and I mean, she's only had 5 appearances with us so far, and I think she scored 3 goals. So, yeah, like I say, she's been all right when she's got minutes on the pitch, but just don't see her being a regular starter. So, but might say in the summer she might decide she might want to move on, but it's up to Skinner to decide whether he keeps her for another year of her contract or not.
I think that's the thing, because ultimately we don't know. And I think in answer to this question, just briefly, Paul, but like I said, the club clearly accepted it. So, but obviously we don't know. We don't know whether the club knew. I would hope the club knew about that rule of the 48-hour thing for the positions that they're in negotiating these contracts. But as I said, if United, it does say in the article that United wanted a replacement, and I speak to somebody earlier that makes sense. Albeit, I think that she should have had more minutes by now. And I think part of that is because of what Jess said. There must be more going on that we don't know about. And that's something else I said to somebody earlier, that there's clearly something that's not in the public domain that we don't know to why she's not getting minutes, because the talent is there. I agree with what John said a bit. I'm going back through your comments here. I agree with what John's saying here. So do I. I think she's absolutely fantastic. But the problem we've got is she's not playing. And I think, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen her go out on loan so we could see it.
Those in front of her that are just on form at the minute. So it's just like trying to push your way into the team. You're waiting for another player to get injured, or when Leon is taking a chance and then proving to Skinner, oh look, you've got to keep me in this side no matter what.
I mean, John makes the point there. Me and my daughter saw her, but some of the other players against Durham, she didn't seem part of the group, even though. That's what I mean. We don't know. Ultimately, I'm not saying because it's hard to speculate on these things because we really don't know. But when that article came out, I was just a little bit surprised because, not gonna lie, I was telling everybody because I thought she was going to go out on loan in January, but clearly she didn't. But just to kind of wrap up this little segment on it, what do you reckon is going to happen for the summer? Then, just looking ahead, just briefly on it, because it does mention toward the end of the article that although they didn't get her now. That they probably will probably look to sign her in the summer potentially as well. Do we expect that to happen now that the fact that United were willing to sell her 6 months on from getting her in last summer, that we're expecting to see her go come this summer as well?
I don't see her being here in the summer unless there's been some sort of massive turnaround. Of course, if we're in the Champions League, that's a bit of a draw. So she might sort of change her mind a little bit there. But to be honest with you, I think. I mostly agree with what Paul Greaves has put. It doesn't help anyone to have an unhappy player. And if it's somebody that doesn't want to be here, in any other football team, you'd say the same thing. At the end of the day, you only want players that want to play for you, that want to fight for the shirt. At the end of the day, if she doesn't want to fight for the shirt and she'd rather go off somewhere else, then so be it. And I'll just say that applies to any player. I'm not just talking there about Adriana. I think, if we're talking about any other player, that goes all the way down from Ella Toone, who doesn't seem to go anywhere. So, we know we don't have that problem with her, all the way down to Anna, Leslie and Mary, the people who've been talking about this week. If they don't want to play for the club, then it's no good. And that's an important point to remember. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying it's a worldwide thing. It's not just about Leon. If you don't want to play for United, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, just to add on Barry's point, will Milan
100%. I think that's what we all want to see. Fair play to her if she goes off and has a good career elsewhere. Because I said I truly believe the talent's in there. But as Barry said earlier, sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes clubs and players just don't mix together. I'd question why we signed them in the first place. But until you sign them, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So just very quickly on what Ellie's put in the comments before we look at the Leicester game, I'm going to talk about the midfield rotation, obviously, because Skinner has name dropped Lisa this week, and obviously we know that Reece is coming off the back of a good game, so we're going to get to all of that and talk a little bit about Leicester. Obviously, it's worth mentioning what Ellie's put here. Leah, Player of the Month for February. I think the 4 nomination. This is off memory now. Was it Hannah, Millie, and Letitia? I think. That's off memory. I'm going to have to go and have a check to make sure. I think it was those 4. And obviously, Leah has won it. But Barry, good decision, do you think, on that one? Obviously, it's 4 United girls.
Absolutely. So Leah's been a great player. I think any one of those 4 could have won it without there being too much of an argument, to be honest with you. But yes, I think Leah's been particularly good this month.
Yeah, just to add on, Barry, she's been in excellent form, and I say it's good to see her. She's good run. I know she missed a couple of games, but then she just comes straight back in and hit the ground running again. So it's just hopefully she scoring a lot more goals. Well, I did see the goal she scored against Durham. I thought, I don't know, she seems to score goals when falling over. She's I think she remember doing that at Old Trafford as well. I thought there's some sort of pattern here. She seems to score goals when she's falling over. So, so it's great to see Leah getting that award as well for the month of February.
Indeed. I don't know about Player of the Month, but I'm Player of the Month for sure. Sporty saying I voted for Bunda. I think like I said, it's 4 United players. I'm happy if any of them wins, to be honest.
And it was Letitia as well that was in. Millie Turner.
See, my memory's not going just yet. I'm not quite that old. Joe, welcome to the comments. Just shouting out Joe, by the way. I do this every time he's in the live chat because credit to Joe, leaves so many comments on our YouTube videos after they've gone live. So I always enjoy reading those after shows have gone live. And that goes to anybody. Leave comments after. We always read them and try and respond back to them as well. Because it's not just the people in the live chat.
I did actually think it was your alter ego for a minute.
No, I can confirm.
Marty and TJ.
I can confirm it is somebody else. But there we are. There was a comment a bit further on. I mean, fair, yes. But yeah, I mean, like I said, anyone could win it. So
I was thinking in such good form, would a call up for England might be on the cards. I don't know, but it's whether what Serena sees.
Also comes down to the number of goals she scored. They've been important ones when she's been involved in those. So
yeah,
well, indeed. Right, let's get on to the Leicester game, and we'll start with the midfield because that's what's in the title. And obviously, Skinner name dropped Lisa Naalsund. There we go. I got it. Got there in the end. Got there in the end. But obviously, name dropped Lisa this week. We know that Reece has come off the back of a great game at the weekend, and we mentioned her on Monday's show that can her Toone play together and that kind of thing. And Zelem Ladd are back available as well, as we'd expect. So a lot of midfield options there. Only 3 to really put in, unless he goes really adventurous and we just go for a stacked 5 in midfield or something. But Barry, what do you reckon to that? I mean, it's a great problem to have. I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say I prefer it like this than what we've got. But bringing Lisa into the mix now, because I think a lot of fans have obviously been waiting for this. We paid a lot of money for her, and we all said at the time United probably aren't paying that amount of money for somebody who's going to sit on the bench. So if we're expecting her to start, or well, potentially to start 50, 60 minutes or so, what kind of midfield, and Cascarino as well, as TJ's just put in there, a player that I completely forgot about there, because again, she's not had much minutes either. What are you kind of expecting for this weekend? We know that Skinner's probably going to go different to what we say on here, but what would you want to see? We'll start with that. We'll start that conversation first. What would you want to see?
Well, I think number one, I'd much rather have just 3 players and not have all these options. It'd be much easier if we just had a middle 3 that we know. I'm joking. What we do need, what do I want? We also know that Skinner does watch this. I've told you that. He's done so many things that we've suggested on here. So let me just think for a moment what's right for Manchester United women, lest I say something that gets us in the trouble. I feel like there's arguments all across the board as to what you could do, and that's a nice thing to have. But equally, we've got to be careful. The game against Leicester wasn't easy, the last game that we had. In fact, it was downright difficult. And as a result, we need to be very, very careful and on our mettle and ready to go. I still maintain there's not enough games for us to be fiddling around too much. And I think that Lisa Naalsund will only start if she has had enough time to prepare and is feeling ready. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw maybe a half, but if she was going to get a half, I think it might be the second half rather than the first, because it gives us the chance to take control of the game. And, again, you'll probably see a little bit of this discussion in the men's channel a bit later on. But it's so important that you get the result first. I wasn't overjoyed with some of these changes that Erik ten Hag made, and he sort of dragged it out at the very end there, giving us a moment to remember. I feel like on the women's side here, that's where you need to be as well. You've got to get the result first and then start looking to integrate some of these other players. Now, having said that, I do think that Wildeborg-Rees deserves a start. I thought she had a great game at the weekend. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm sitting here going, all of a sudden cave to this idea that Wildeborg-Rees should be a starter. But I did say, if a player comes in and does well, they should be allowed to keep their place, regardless of who it is they've replaced, because that's the point of a squad system. If Wildeborg-Rees doesn't start this game in the weekend, I think that makes a bit of a mockery of the situation that we are trying to put ourselves in, which is to give squad players a chance to perform. Toone hasn't been setting the world alight as yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, Toone, when she's average, is still better than 99% of a lot of other players. But still, I would be giving Wildeborg-Rees a start. So for me, it would be Wilde with Hayley and Katie, with the view to be having Lisa join us at halftime, possibly for Hayley Ladd. And that's how I would play it. With regards to Cascarino, we haven't seen a huge amount of her either, to be honest with you. She's had a sort of cameo appearance, but nothing major. So I wouldn't be rocking the boat. It's lovely to have lots of these options, but let's be honest, we know who the Holy Trinity have been in our midfield: Toone, Zelem, Ladd. You don't divert too much away from that. Make one change, by all means. Make a couple. It's a recipe for disaster if it goes wrong, because you'll get people like me going, why'd you do it? What are you playing about with this? It's all very well and good saying you've got a squad system, but you had to listen to, Cuddly Connor, didn't you?
Have you still got that, by the way? Is it near you? There he is.
Always near the laptop, just in case.
I knew it would make an appearance at some point.
You wait till we watch it, okay? We're going to get that straight back on.
I thought I'd get it out of the way. We're going to talk a little bit about Wilde and Toone in particular in just a second. But Andrew, your thoughts on kind of the midfield? Barry makes some good points there. Particularly about Wilde. And would you change it too much? Like I said, the reason why I'm bringing Lisa into this conversation purely is because Skinner got asked directly about her and went off on. I haven't got the direct quotes in front of me, but spoke very highly of her and about bringing her into the starting squad, or about bringing her into the matchday squad anyway. So he's clearly got plans for her, and like I said, we paid a big fee for her as well. So what would you kind of? We'll get to what we expect, but what would you want to see first off?
So So I don't want to make too many changes. That's why, well, in terms of the starting 11, because it's on such a good run of form. So it's probably tweaks here and there. I know you said about Lisa saying she'd been in the team training this week and potentially could feature against Leicester. So at the moment, I don't see her starting that game. I just think it might be she comes on, because she's only worked her way back to fitness, but she's got to get that match fitness as well, getting up to the pace of the game as well. So I would keep still Ladd and Zelem in the midfield, and then maybe the second half replace Lisa with Ladd as well and see how she gets on. In terms of Vilda, I'm just obviously I only saw the goals from the Durham game, so I didn't see how overall she played, but from what I heard, it was pretty good. So, but I'm just thinking, can you dislodge Toone at the minute? Like Toone can be sometimes in game, having an off game, but she can sometimes create something out of nothing. So it's like with Vilda, I'm just at the moment I don't see her, pushing Toone out of the way. So I don't know whether what is Vilda's best role, the number 10, or could she, being like number 8, or where Hayley Ladd is or Katie Zelem is, back in more of the centre of the midfield. So it's a nice headache for Skinner to have, and it's just like we're trying to work out who he's going to play. But I just think, like with the men's side of the United, Ten Hag is keeping it pretty much the same players. So because they're on such good form, why disrupt what's going on? So, but yeah, I'm don't know much about Lisa Naalsund. I've not seen many clips of her, so it'll be interesting to see how she plays on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to seeing how our new signing gets on. And also, we're still waiting for Jade Riviera to come back as well. So I think Skinner said she's about 3 weeks away. So another new signing to look out for as well.
No, 100%. I mean, John Fry's kind of stolen my next bit. I'm going to come to you with Barry talking about, and this is something Charlie raised on Monday's show, talking about starting Katie, Borisa and Toone together. Do you think that can work? Because we've seen Katie drop in deep. There's no doubt that Zelem can play that deeper role. She's been playing there most of the time anyway, and Ladd's been the one that's been further forward. Playing a team like Leicester, they're better than they are when we played them last time. They're on a better run of form at least from when we played them last time. But as you said, we struggled a little bit there last time. I think that was just an off day personally, because we've not seen it too much since. But is that maybe an option? Because we're trying to get Borisa in purely off merit. As we said, she played well last weekend. She's done well, so she deserves to have those minutes in the bag. But is that the option that we go down, do you think, to try and unlock Leicester a little bit?
I'll put this nicely.
It's a difficult one.
Hayley Ladd's done a nice job as well, but yet we're talking about dropping Hayley Ladd just for putting Vilda Borisa in. So, it doesn't compute. It's not a sensible discussion. You don't just sit there and go, you played really well, Hayley, don't worry. This player's come in, she did better than the other person in that position, but we're going to put her in your position just because we feel like Leicester probably don't cause as many problems. And that's how you end up losing football games, because you make silly decisions that aren't based on the right ideas. Listen, can you play the two of them further forward, Toone and Vilda Borisa? You absolutely can. Of course you can. John's just put there, it's the England midfield three. We're not England. It's not England. It's Man United. Right? I can't. I'm sorry, but why do people keep on wanting to change things that are working? I don't understand. Have we never heard of the "it's don't broke, don't fix it"? It's like, why are we doing that? If you want to bring Vilda in on merit, she comes in for Ella Toone, because that's the position she plays. Why are we going, let's take out Hayley Ladd? We'll be fine, put two of them next to each other, but then you're relying on Katie Zelem to just be the deep person on her own. She's good, she can break up play, she can do all of those things, she's doing the single pivot, but it's not necessarily her complete forte. That ability to know she's got Hayley Ladd coming back to help defend as well, and to have the two centre backs doing as well as they are. It takes one game. Aston Villa, when we drew 0-0, seemed to end everything. And if we draw this 0-0, everybody's going to be whinging again. What's happened? And if it's the difference between having Hayley Ladd breaking up the play, I don't care who it is. You can disagree with me as much as you like, John Fry. It's absolutely fine. That's what this thing's about. I'm on here to give my opinion. You're on here to give your opinion. That's how the game works, and we love it. And if he does it, and you're right, I will come back and I will offer you a million apologies, and I will offer you up as the Lord Almighty on this channel. But I hope the same happens if it's the other way around. And that's the whole point, is that it's all opinions. Of course it is. And brilliant. It's great that you've got that. You're talking about needing to break the defensive line. We've done that. We've done it game after game after game, because that's why we're top of the league, because we've won games. It might be 1 goal. It might be 6 goals. But the point is, we've done it. I wouldn't change it. I'm a very superstitious person. I've worn the same pair of socks to matches that have been going on because United have been winning. So, perhaps I'll just change my socks and then we can all just blame that, shall we? I can't do it. In my head, I'm like, no, why would you do that? So equally, I don't really want to change the team. Exactly the same reason.
I'm trying to find the game that TJ's on about. So the game that you're referring to is Sunderland. So it was Zelem and Boerisa and Toone. That was the last time we played those 3 together. Obviously, we won that game, so it can work. But if you remember back, there was a lot of disappointment as to how we played in that game. Pitch obviously wasn't great. That's not, that's definitely a factor in that, as we said on Monday. But that's the last. I can't find another game this season where Ladd and Zelem have not been. I'm going back even further now to try and find. It's certainly not been recent, but that's the only one I can find this calendar year anyway, where it's
just
not
need to put another person further forward, which is absolutely fine. But it works brilliantly for so many good reasons. Here's the simple reason. Hayley Ladd wins the ball, gives it to Katie Zelem. Katie Zelem, quarterback, sends it out, sends one of the forward players, they pass amongst each other, goal. Don't do that. You're relying on Katie Zelem winning the ball, which she can do, but does she do it regularly? I would argue I don't see it as much from her as we do Hayley Ladd. And it doesn't matter who you're playing, you want someone to win that ball, and that's what she's good at. So, like I say, what do you reckon, Andrew? I've spoken enough about this. I could be chatting complete guff. Let's have the voice of reason.
I'm just trying to think. You can't really try and shoehorn players in, it's just like for the sake of it. It's just like, as you said, it's on merit. But St. Villa's given herself a great chance for starting on Sunday, but I just think Skinner's just going to go with Ladd, Zelem, and Toone. I just think Villa's chance is probably coming off the bench. So, but if she can come off the bench and then have an impact, then she's still proving to Skinner, oh yeah, I can still contribute to this team. So maybe showing him that way, and then she might get more regular game time. But I know she's probably conscious of the World Cup as well, with getting into that squad and the Norway squad as well. So it's almost like we feel it. For her, time is of the essence. So she wants to be out there on the pitch and showing what she's capable of. So I just think, because I know I said earlier, could she go in the role where Hayley Ladd is? But I just think, no, I think she's probably better as the number 10. So then you've got to move Toone to one side. But then I know Toone can play on the left as well. So it could be. But then do you drop Leah goal? And so it's a difficult one. So, but yeah. I'll leave it to Marc Skinner. He makes the choices. He puts the team out.
It is. Andrew, right?
And we win.
Andrew, Connor's just put this up from High Lane Productions. Now, you look at those games, right? So everybody's saying, well, we could probably do that and it'll be all right. Brighton was an all right game. Leicester, 1-0. Everyone was whinging that we didn't score enough and it was too many. Sunderland, we won. Everyone's whinging we didn't play very well. And we're not in the Conti Cup anymore because we were crap. So, by all means, change them and we'll just lose the title race. All because we wanted to put Vilda.
So I've just double checked in as well. Those 2 league games, the Brighton and Leicester. So it was actually Stanford that came in alongside.
I was going to say, I didn't play in any of those games as well.
And yeah, obviously Sunderland, as we just said, was Zelem. To me, it depends how much United or Skinner, and this is why they're tacticians and they've got all these people to look at these things. It depends how much United think we're going to have the ball. Because if we're going to dominate the ball, then I think you can probably put Vilda and Toone together, and Vilda just plays more of an 8 role. She just drops a little bit deeper, and Toone is kind of your traditional 10. And I think that can work because then if you're going to dominate the ball, you need somebody who then can progress the ball forward. And you've got three of them then. You've got Katie, you've got Vilder and Toone who can all do that as well as your attacking options, which we've got plenty of as well. So I think whatever he does, I don't think it can fail unless he goes really over the top and we start playing players really out of position. But I don't think Vilder in an 8 is a Zelem Vilder Toone is going to disrupt things too much, personally. Not against Leicester. If we try that against Chelsea, I think we'd be a bit in trouble.
I was going to say, well, during that game, if you guys Vilder, Zelem and Toone, and Vilder plays the number 8, and say we were having a bit of trouble caused by Leicester, you can always bring Zelem Ladd on, for Vilder, just to shore it up a little bit as well, as if he was finding we were under Leicester's attack, which I don't pretty much see happening in Sunday's game, but the option's always there, so we could easily start with Vilder in the side as well.
So far be it for me to be the guy, but I've gone to the BBC website to have a look. So that game against Leicester, we did indeed play Zelem just on our own there at the back with 5 players in front. Those 5 players were Galton, Staniforth, Toone, Garcia and Paris. And we had a fair enough amount of the ball, as you were just saying. We had 68% of the ball, 10 shots, 5 of them on target, only the 1 corner. Probably not many point having corners because Zelem had to stay back. And we committed 12 fouls. Now, you have all of that. That's your stats. That's what we had. And we scored 1 goal. I
think you're talking about a different caliber of player in the midfield, though, when you're looking at Staniforth and Vilder, personally. It's 2 completely different players.
Yes.
And I also said as well, that Leicester game for me is a complete one-off. We were we all did the match reaction. I thought it was shocking. We all said that at the time. That game wasn't great. But I don't know. I don't think we don't know. That's what we're sat here doing a preview. We're not tacticians. We're not, complete experts in this. We've all got a different view on it. Whatever Skinner goes with, it's up to them. And as Barry's famous quotes, he'll live and die by his decisions. If he decides to go Casey Vilder, Toone, and we win, great. None of us are going to be sat here complaining. but if he goes Katie Ladd, Toone, Katie Ladd, Vilder, whoever he goes, as long as United win, I don't think any of us will be sat here disappointed come Monday when we do the match reaction. So,
all right, so let me flip it around though. If he does make the changes and we lose, what then?
It depends how we lose.
Yeah.
If we dominate the midfield and we lose in other areas, then it's not really the fault of the midfield.
I mean, games are won and lost in the midfield, really. That's the whole purpose of it.
Well, I'm just thinking of the Everton game 0-0. We just was all out on the attack, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. So,
but who will get the blame? Andrew will. Will the blame go to the midfielders that have been put there for not necessarily doing the job as well as they should have done? Or is everybody just going to get onto the Skinner out ridiculous situation?
No, it would be Skinner out, wouldn't it?
Of course it will be, because it can never be the player's fault. So I find it's bizarre, which is why I say to you, I implore you, Marc Skinner, just do the right thing. I'm talking to you now, Mark. Nobody else. Ignore me. It's just me and you in the room, right? Just stick with the same team, bro. Do what you've been doing. Just work it. Don't listen to him. Don't do it.
Whatever we decide to do, we definitely need to be on our A game as a sporty saying here. Leicester are going to be up for this. They're battling relegation teams also. And also, like I said, they're only 1 point off Reading now. Everyone over Christmas, and me included, was like, yeah, Leicester are going down. Then a couple of wins later, now look at them. We're looking at them as a completely different team. So that kind of begs my question in terms of any other changes that we'd make. This is going to be a very short segment before we look at some other things to do with the game. Where's the point? Oh, I've lost it. There we go. Chris is saying here, play the same team as last week. The only change I'd make would be Russo for Thomas. Are we all in agreement for that? Russo, in fact, what was the team last week?
Yeah,
You got me questioning now.
What was the team?
So that would make the team as Garcia, Russo, Galton, Zelem Ladd, Vilder, and then obviously the usual back 5. Are we in agreement that that's pretty much the kind of line of thinking that we're going in?
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair to Mr. Fry, I've denigrated his thoughts and decisions quite a bit over the course of this midfield conversation. But on this one, he's spot on. In that game against Leicester, there wasn't a proper number 9. There wasn't a proper striker. Nikita Paris often comes out from the wing, as does Garcia. So as a result, we didn't necessarily have that out-and-out striker like Leslie Russo or Williams could be. So I think you're going to need that, regardless of who you're playing in midfield. For me, if Leslie Russo's fit, she starts.
Yeah, I was going to say Russo will probably start, but I'm just thinking Nikita Paris might come back in as well. So it's just she'll be on the right and then Galton on the left and Toone in the number 10. So pretty much goalkeeper, defence, and midfield. Well, Zelem Ladd as well. I just think they're sort of picking themselves. So it's that attack where we can rotate a lot as well. So, but yeah, I'm just there's plenty of options to choose from. So we'll see on Sunday when the teams are announced.
No, 100%.
This point by High Lane is so important. I mean, Joseph, bless him, has gone straight off into the other bit. If you can't start VBR against a team like Leicester, then which team will you play at? She played last week. There's your team. It's like, please stop trying to get a manager to change your team just so we can get a player to start when they're doing well. I'd understand this conversation if it was last year. I don't get it. Am I just thick? I don't know. I don't get it.
I think you made a point. And, well, to be fair, you even said, Vilda's earned it on merit. So I don't think none of us are sat here saying that we don't think Vilda should start. I think we're all pretty much in agreement with that. We went through that at the start of this.
As long as it's for Toone, yeah.
So, and in answer to that question, very shortly, no. Sorry, Bagley, yeah. But no.
No, this is the world's best. Sorry.
No chance, both.
Unfortunately not. But, you mentioned Williams there. Again, another option that we've got if we are struggling in the game. We've got a player like Williams that can come in and, as we've seen, win us games. Which kind of leads us on in terms of talking about, we've spoken about the midfield, obviously looking at the attack a little bit. Now, Leicester, I wouldn't say they're on hot form, but they're certainly doing much better. Obviously, they've just beaten Liverpool 1-0. City, as High Lane put, found it very difficult to break them down. The keeper that they've signed from Bayern Munich on loan is very good. So we're going to have our shooting boots on. Is that the key, do you reckon, Barry, this week? Because we've mentioned, well, Andrew just mentioned the Everton game. Yeah, we had a lot of chances, weren't clinical. Even when we were winning, weren't fully clinical. We're going to have to be in this game, aren't we? Because the Leicester keeper is not going to be letting too many in. Well, we might still win 5. No, we're going to get to predictions at the end. But you'd expect with the form that Leicester backed on, and Willie Kirk seems to have a good defensive unit now for this Leicester side. Like I said, we found it difficult against a team worse than this when we played Leicester in the reverse fixture. So, when we're looking at having our shooting boots on, Galton and Russo and these kinds of players are going to have to be on it.
It's difficult if you turn up and just expect to win a football match. Now, football matches are difficult. It's the Women's Super League, not the women's really good few teams and a couple of teams that you should spank every week. When you get a growth in a game, that's how it works. In the men's Premier League, you shouldn't really be surprised when a football team loses. You get delighted, but the whole point of it is that anybody can beat anybody on their day. That's the beauty of any football match, no matter what it is. That's why the FA Cup is the greatest cup competition in the world. Because on their day, any football team can beat any other football team. Sometimes it needs the stars to align and all of that sort of jazz, but it can always happen. You've got to go out there and you've got to respect the opposition. Doesn't matter who they are. You have to. It's just a fact. If you don't respect the opposition, you will get your backside handed to you, and deservedly so. So 100% we're going to have to go out there, and we have got to be absolutely on top of our game. Leicester are only 3 points off of 9th. Spurs, Brighton, Reading, Leicester, make no mistake about it. They are all absolutely slap bang in the middle of a relegation dogfight. One of those 4 teams, please let it be Spurs, are going to drop down into the...
Why Spurs? Why Spurs is out of interest?
That would be really bloody funny. Don't you think? When I look at those 4, Leicester going down, you go, Reading going down, Brighton and Hove Albion going down, Spurs going down. That's a big name, especially with all the money they've spent.
I was going to say, Beth England ain't going to be staying in the Championship, that's for sure.
I mean, hello. So it'd be funny, wouldn't it? That's why. Will they? Probably not, but it would be funny. So yeah, you've got to be at your best. Simple as that. Leicester are not just going to roll over for us. If anything, they're going to be going out, trying their absolute best to nick a win. So the only way they're going to nick a win, by the way, is if we are over-attacking and they get a little counter on us. And that's where you need Zelem Ladd just in front of the defence to break up that before it can occur.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, it's hard to follow on from what Barry just said there because I think he's just covered everything in one little point. But
left me no room. No, I mean, I'm going to say Leicester are going to be in buoyant mood after the international break. I mean, let's say they had that 3-0 victory over Brighton and then 1-0 win over Liverpool. And obviously, in between that, there's the City defeat. But, I mean, even though they're only 1 point behind Reading, they'll know if they come to United and get a result, they'll will get all 3 points. They'll get out of the relegation zone as well, so they'll be fighting tooth and nail to get that victory as well. I know Leicester have got a few injuries as well, so I think they're without Abby McManus, Jess Sigsworth, and obviously Carrie Jones, who can't play against us, so they'll be without her as well. So, but yeah, our attack's got to be literally on it. I'm hoping it's not going to turn out like this. I'm just thinking like Reading away, where we literally couldn't break them down and then Rachel Williams came on and then just went on that run and then snatched that goal and got us all 3 points. But yeah, we just got to be wary of Leicester. So expect them to sit in and then frustrate us, but then try and where they can counter us and catch us on the hop. So, but we've got faith in our attacking force that will break Leicester down. I just think hopefully a better performance in the away game, because I just felt like he was having all of the ball, but we could have done a lot more with it. So, but yeah, we'll have to see on Sunday.
No, 100%. I agree with that comment, and there was also one bit further up. I've lost it now. Sarah's comment there. Sometimes lower teams can be harder because they're actually fighting for survival. I agree. I think if you're fighting a mid-table team, yes, they're always going to be trying, but maybe not as much as teams that are literally fighting to stay in the league. So, yeah, I don't expect this to be easy. That's for sure. We'll come to predictions after this final point then. Just something I wanted to mention, really, in terms of whether you think obviously mentality, as we know, plays a big part in football, but no Chelsea and Arsenal in WSL this weekend. They're going to play next Wednesday against two other teams. Do you think that will have any mental impact? Because we could be going into the at the end of the weekend, obviously clear. What would it be? 4 clear of Chelsea, and I should have worked this out. Is it 7 of Arsenal? I think. Got me guessing now. We're 6 ahead of them at the moment.
So 9.
9. So
9 ahead of Chelsea, and 4 ahead of Chelsea. Sorry, 9 ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah, so that could be the case going into obviously the next round again. Do you think that will play a factor in the players' minds? Thinking we're the only, obviously I know City are playing as well, and they're on good form. To be fair, I probably should throw them into the mix. But particularly in terms of the going for the title, as we've been speaking about, Chelsea obviously most would expect the nearest challengers for that. Do you think, Barry, that will play into the players' minds a little bit, knowing that Chelsea and Arsenal are not playing WSL this weekend?
No, I don't think that Mark will allow them to let that into their head, and it shouldn't really. But it is a wonderful little appetizer. It really makes you salivate thinking about it, doesn't it? 4 points clear of Chelsea, and what's lovely about that is that yes, they would have 2 games in hand, but I find 2 games in hand is a better place to be than 1 game in hand. With 1 game in hand, you kind of think they're going to do it. With 2 games in hand, that only needs a draw, and all of a sudden, it's a little bit woo, a little bit wah. So for me, I think that would be wonderful to be that far ahead of Arsenal. They've only, they've got a game in hand on us as well. Even with that would be 6 points clear of them, even if they win their game in hand. I think that's huge. City, obviously, I think are taking part this weekend, so obviously they could win, and it would only be a 3-point gap from first to second. I think we've just got to have the mentality that if we win every single game this season, we're the champions. That's it. Nothing else needs to come into play. There's neither maths, neither messing around. If we win every game this season, champions.
There we are. Control the controllables, as Skinner likes to say as well.
Because that's all you can control, Connor.
tell me about it. I've had my fair share of that this week, which is a whole other story. Andrew, for yourself, I mean, Paul and John are saying the same thing that Skinner can't allow that, and it's like Barry said, he'll probably not let the players think like that. But again, factor in, do you think?
As I say, control the controllables, but I know Barry said we'll win every game with champions. Well, as long as Chelsea don't win their game in hand, then we pretty much would be champions. But get all 3 points on Sunday, it sets it up, nicely.
Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew, sorry, I
knew he was gonna do that.
You're wrong. Because even if they win the game now, we've got to play Chelsea once.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Please,
Andrew did exactly the same
can't
thing.
allow misinformation to be spread on our channel. It's not right.
I did exactly the same thing.
I'm just reading the table as it is. Sorry. Just reading it as it is. So, back to my point. Get all 3 points on Sunday, then it sets it up nicely for next weekend. And, it's going to be such a big clash as well. And say, we're in such a confident mood. And I just think that when we played Chelsea away at the end of last season, for that first half, was literally going toe to toe with them. And, Chelsea were worried. And obviously in the second half, they made their subs. And then we just fell away, but I just think this time we're just going to have confidence, that we can go there and get a result. So I'm looking forward to that one next week against Chelsea. See if we can avenge the defeat they gave to us at LSV back in was it October, November? No, October. Yeah.
100%. That is the one. Stay tuned, obviously, on the channel for next week. Obviously, it's a big week leading up to that Chelsea game. A lot of people obviously calling this a 6-pointer, which it pretty much is, to be fair. I mean, this comment obviously saying Connor knows it's not possible. It's certainly possible. Do I think it will happen? I still don't. Until we play that game against Chelsea, then I'll might change my mind depending on how that result goes. But it is possible, as Barry's just laid out the maths. We win every game.
Yes,
we are. So it's definitely possible, but it's a different thing altogether if we think that is going to happen. Right, let's come around with predictions, goal scorers, all those kinds of things then. So what are we going for Sunday, Barry? What do you reckon?
Who are we playing again? Leicester. I'm going to go 4-0. 4-0 with goals from Leslie Russo, Vilda Risa, because she started in place of Toone, who doesn't go on, because we're just going to really, really wind up the Spurs players by not playing her for 3 games anyway. It's just having her there, should we want her, on the bench, just to really annoy them a little bit more. So we'll do that. So Toone doesn't play, so those 2 will score. And then also a debut goal for Lisa Naalsund, who came on at half-time because we were 2-0 up at that point. And then a surprise goal from Jackie Groening.
Go on, Andrew, follow that one.
I was going to say, Leicester, undoubtedly improved in their recent WSL games, but I just think we'll just have too much quality, and I just think, unbeaten in the last 7 league games as well, and I just think we'll just, we'll get all the 3 points. So I want to go 2-0, and in terms of goal scorers, I'm going to go Toone's going to get 1, I think, and then the other probably, I want to go Katie Zelem. I think she'll get on the score sheet. So Toone and Zelem to score both goals.
No, that's fair enough. There's a lot of mixed things in the chat. Some people think it's going to be a tighter game. Some people are saying 3-0, 4-0. There's a couple of 2-0s in there as well. Yeah, I think that the one thing that this shows is I don't think anyone really knows how this game's going to go. As we saw earlier on in the season, we all thought we were going to go there and win 3 or 4-0, and we didn't. So, but I agree. There was a comment a bit further up. I really don't care unless we just need to win. I don't care how we do it now. We've got the goal difference. We've got the best defense. As long as we, in fact, let's keep a clean sheet as well, because it'd be nice for Mary to keep a clean sheet after winning the award. And also because we have got one of the best defenses in Europe. So let's keep it that way. So yeah, I'd certainly expect us now to keep a clean sheet and just get a win, really. Just a win will do for me, and a goal fest. And yes, Sarah is there, so make sure you say hello if you're near any of us. If you see any of us, that's for sure. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 2-0. I think it'll be a lot closer, I think. And I'm going to go for Garcia and goals, and why not? The 2 Gs. For there we go. Right, Oh, there's a 5-0 that's just come in. Bo Risa Leah. It's because it's all in one thing. There's no commas. I read that all as one name. Then I was thinking, who's Bo Risa Russo Leah? Bo Risa Russo Leah. Garcia and Zelem. Yeah, it's a fair shout. And a 2-0. Yeah. That's fairly standard as well. Right, we shall wrap it up there. Make sure you check out the men's channel. They are live. You'll see Barry again in about 7 minutes. Talking about the Liverpool game.
The working time directive here, isn't there? 7 minutes break, that's all we get.
So make sure you check that out. Obviously, we're previewing the other big game on Sunday against Liverpool, which obviously is a massive one for the men's side. We'll be back live on this channel on Monday night. We'll be back talking about hopefully another win over Leicester. And obviously next week we got quite a few things to look forward to as we lead up to the Chelsea game as well. Some of your favourite content creators / Chelsea fans will be back to tell us how Chelsea are going to win. But obviously we got our selection of United fans to tell us how we're going to win. So make sure you check out that. Chris is bang on. The comment's not come into the chat yet, into our StreamYard chat, but I can see it. Oh, there it is. Just to wrap it, just enough time for as long as he eats it the correct way, there is enough time for that one. That's for sure. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, and we shall see you guys in the next one.